Good morning, all, and welcome. I'm Andy Kramer, a member of the Sunday Services Committee, and I'm happy to welcome everyone today. As a friendly reminder, please be sure to silence any devices that could be distracting so that we may all spend our time within this morning. Our purpose in coming together in fellowship on Sunday mornings is to renew our commitment to our Unitarian principles, to each other, and to the broader needs of the world community. We welcome all into our midst, regardless of skin color, background, or sexual orientation. Are there any visitors among us or friends that we haven't seen for a while who would be willing to stand and introduce themselves this morning? Ellie, were you raising your hand? That was the only hand I saw in response. Okay, perhaps we don't need to talk about yellow mugs this morning then. However, we would like to encourage everyone to gather in the social hall this morning. We have special treats and coffee and a time for fellowship together. One of our 7 Unitarian principles calls forth a true and responsible search for truth and justice. Our Unitarian sources provide guidance and reference as we conduct our collective and individual searches for wisdom from the world's great religions. It is probably no surprise, given the fairly cloistered social environment of Traverse City, that we may know little about the history and the practices of Islam. We have the opportunity this morning to explore the grace associated with practices of Ramadan, the most holy of Muslim holidays, lasting 30 days. The date of the beginning of Ramadan is based on the Islamic calendar rather than the calendar that we use. And it begins with the rising of the crescent moon over Mecca in their 9th month, which varies from year to year. Sometimes Ramadan is around Easter, as it is now, but sometimes it's around Christmas. And so it is not a consistent time. So, Ramadan Mubarak, that is the generic greeting exchanged and delivered by 1.9 billion of the world's population, wishing the recipient a blessed Ramadan. This morning, I'd like to introduce Dusty Colton, who's going to talk about our annual budget drive. But I also want you to know that Jeff has been working very hard this morning to fill in for Renee and Barbara, who are both ill. And so a little patience this morning as we use our video associates instead of our actual piano and voices. Dusty.
Well, I'm going to talk about our annual budget drive, fondly known as the ABD, and rising with okay. Pledging with our hearts. Okay. Now, I was going to talk a little bit today about my worry bird, but I decided not to do that. I'm going to be a little more somber than I usually am. The annual budget drive, the ABD, first of all, I thank all of you who have pledged thus far, quite generously. We have 60 pledges for a total of $156,510. Next week, we are going to thank you all in the Treasurer's Blast. This is our last official week of the ABD. 85% of our official time is gone. The 156,510 is only 58% of our goal of 270,000, which could make us whole. The 60 pledges is only 55% of the number we got last year. We need the hearts of the missing 45% to pledge this week. That's where I was going to talk about the worry bird. But I also would note that the 156,510 is only 2/3 of what we pledged last year. And remember, we did have a $20,000 deficit budget last year, which with your hard work, we have managed very well this year. And I'd like to remind us all, we're all facing 5% plus inflation costs. We on the Finance Committee, the reason I'm more somber today is we on the Finance Committee have to, within the next 2 weeks, make up the budget for next year. Please join the list of those who have pledged. We care for this group of folks we call UUCGT in many ways. We have fellowship together and open our hearts to anyone who wants to come. We share learning experiences among ourselves and our community and out in our community. We believe in justice, and we feel we must interact with the world positively for others. We have a beautiful building and landscaping around us that includes a nature walk and a memorial garden. We believe in compassion and promoting the best as we can, and promoting as best we can love for others and the respect for the world around us. We are loving, talented, caring people, and we do take care of this place in many ways. But part of that is the sharing of the abundance and wealth as best we are able to do. Based on the financial wealth shared, there are limits to what we can do. Programs we can support, level of support for Sunday services, music and religious education, and what staff and staff support time we can have at UUCGT. I thank each one of you for all your gifts. But please, be sure we hear from you now about your pledge. It is a critical time in our budgeting and our planning. Thank you very much. It is the final. I do say official week. We sometimes don't let go of things, but it is the last week.
Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here with us this morning. I'm Reverend Alex. I'm the minister of this community. I use the pronouns he and him. And welcome to this service where we delve deeper into the lessons and gleanings from the practice of Ramadan, a season of reflection and renewing faith for our Muslim friends and neighbors. As we settle into this sacred time, I invite you to hear these opening words, a reflection from Summer Al-Bayadi, a UU Muslim, on the significance of Ramadan for her and her faith. Ramadan is a time of going deeper into a spiritual oasis. Like entering a cave for a few hours while I fast from bodily nourishment. It becomes a holy retreat from the mundane, even in the midst of the ordinary. This holy experience is healing. This sacred time is an abundant act of love. And this is what I seek each year, so that I can answer the call of the divine Spirit. What if I were to find spiritual nourishment by entering whatever doors opened up to the divine Spirit on a daily basis? What if each day I began it in theological reflection, or praising the name of the divine each morning and evening? Who would I become? And so in the spirit of this question, who would I become? Let us now enter this time of worship together. We light our chalice now in our service that reminds us of the love that is present to us here and now. Our chalice lighting words come from Rumi, the great Sufi mystic and poet of the Persian language, who wrote about how every one of us has the potential to realize the light within and become powerful. As Rumi tells us, don't you know yet? It is your light that lights the world. And now we sound the singing bowl, calling us into this sacred time that we've set apart from our full and busy lives. I invite you to follow the sound as it dissipates into silence as we join our hearts together this morning.
Let's hear it for steps. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rich Fowler. I'm a friend of this congregation and not a member. I am the product of an ardent Roman Catholic mother and an Episcopalian father. And I had the extreme good fortune to go to nursery school at Temple B'nai Israel for a year and a half. Ostensibly because my best friend Barry went there, but it didn't hurt that my mother was a secretary to the rabbi either. I then did 8 years at St. Mary's Elementary School and 4 years at Essex Catholic High School in Newark, New Jersey. I am a theological mishmash. I do not have a long history with Unitarian Universalism to share with you. My journey here actually began in 1968. That was the year that I stood up and walked out during a sermon at the local Roman Catholic church in front of my mother. I was 15 years old, and needless to say, it didn't go over too well with my mom. For the next 50 years or so, I really didn't think much about organized religion. I was busy with my career and my growing family. Let's just say that I was spiritual, but not religious. Kind of sound familiar? Of course, I'd keep up appearances at Christmas and Easter, but I was not really engaged. In fact, I had checked completely out of organized religion. However, by the spring of 2018, I felt that something was missing, as if the inner me was running on empty. I was horrified by the tidal wave of invective and intolerance coming from the White House. Social violence was everywhere, seemingly worsening, and more violence was being offered by some as the remedy. Dystopia was my new norm. I was feeling vulnerable and in some ways overwhelmed. So I needed something new that would make sense to me and hopefully renew my faith in humanity. I started searching on the internet, and somehow I stumbled upon a TED Talk given by Rabbi Chava Bailey at a seminar at NMC back in 2014. She wasn't preachy, her vibe was casual and engaging, and what I really appreciated was that her message applied to everybody. It belonged to no specific denomination or theology. In her talk, she accurately described what I had been feeling, which was the longing to touch the infinite which resides within all of us. Now, being raised in a male-dominant theology, I was pleased to find out that this female rabbi was also a spiritual leader at, dun, 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 the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Grand Traverse. News to me, because I'd never heard of this place before. So I rolled the dice and showed up here to find out for myself. Since arriving here, I found a sense of ease with my spirituality. It's okay to be me. UUCGT is a place where love and hope are in abundance and shared with everyone, regardless of where they are along life's path. Everyone is openly accepted for who they are, no judgment offered. Personally, the inner me can now take a deep breath and center itself. And as Reverend Alex often quotes, I can seek a God of my own understanding. Through this congregation, I feel empowered to act and resist the injustice and intolerance that once overwhelmed me. The abundant hope here has also touched my heart as well. With this congregation, I've been able to participate to help serve the less fortunate of our community who, I now understand, are really just like us. For me, UUCGT acts like a charging station, sharing its positive energy to illuminate what is right with this society and what is possible for us to achieve, and it empowers all of us to be the change we want to see. Financial support of this congregation is critical, particularly during this period of economic uncertainty. So, with apologies to Dionne Warwick, that's what friends are for. Let's keep the lights on and the doors wide open. So please do what you can. It's just so needed now.
And now it's time for our offering. If we are to be whole, we must reach out to others with our gifts of loving kindness. We can each open our hearts to others in many ways and perpetuate loving kindness each and every day. But if we are to sustain UUCGT, financial giving must be a part of what each of us contributes. Our building, our programs, our staff and projects cannot survive and perpetuate without our monetary commitment. Our baskets are divided, one side for the church and the other for community needs, as determined by careful consideration of a committee of our peers. Please, give as you are moved to contribute and as you are able.
Good morning. My name is Chris Lautz, and I am chair of the membership committee. And we have 3 people that would like to join us. So I'm going to call up the rest of my committee to come on up. And I'll introduce them. You see us every service before or after at the welcome table, and we also organize the greeters. So we have Chris and Rick Walter, Jane Watts, John Hoffman. So it's my pleasure to invite our newest newest members to come forward at this time and bring the insert from your order of service. So we have Teresa Spihar, David Moore, and Christine Baran. Did I say that right? Okay, good. Okay, so guys, come on, we're gonna read their bio. One of you come on up.
Welcome, I'm Rick Walter. This is David Moore's bio. David was born in Traverse City, was raised in the surrounding area. He grew up in a family that was not overtly religious, but that supported his desire to attend services with friends. Over the years, David attended numerous denominations and eventually married a lapsed Catholic. David tried attending Mass, but the rigid, demanding structure never satisfied his spiritual needs of universal love and acceptance, so he stopped attending Masses. With and in support of his fiancée, Teresa, David attended the winter solstice celebration and was overwhelmed with the feeling of acceptance, joy, and love at UUCGT. Longing for a community and congregation to celebrate with, David began attending and has found nothing but happy, joyful, and caring people at UUCGT and desires to be a part of that community.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce Teresa Spihar. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Pretty close, huh? All right. Teresa moved to northern Michigan 12 and a half years ago from the Down River area, south of Detroit. She settled in Gaylord, where her sister lives. In early 2021, Teresa decided that she wanted to move to Traverse City, that perhaps her tribe was out there. She started looking for employment and housing in June. In July of 2021, she met David. She said it was as if her soul had found its other half. In October of 2021, Teresa had moved to Traverse City, started work as a case manager at a holistic health center. Teresa was raised Catholic, but was lucky enough to have an open-minded family. She pursued her pagan practice, which came very naturally. In December 2022, she attended the solstice celebration here at UUCGT. She felt very welcomed, and she and David decided to attend services here as well to check things out. 3 months later, she is happy to include our congregation, UUCGT, on her spiritual path. Finding a place that doesn't condemn other beliefs as long as they act out of love is exactly what she's been looking for. She is looking forward to growing with this community. Welcome.
I have the pleasure of introducing Christine Baran, and she discovered the UUCG thanks to her teenagers, with her eldest having attended OWL pre-pandemic and her youngest currently attending. She brought them along today and would like to introduce them, Mikhaili and Gabrielle, along with their husband Dan. There you are. Welcome. Christine is thrilled to have found such an inclusive and inspiring congregation of people. She is particularly excited about the emphasis placed on living out one's faith through action. Programs such as Soul Matters, finding a place to explore and deepen one's spiritual practice. At home, Christine enjoys practicing meditation and yoga. She counts John Donahue, Oprah, and Deepak Chopra among her heroes. In the past, the energy of the business world led her to work in human resources management across a variety of industries, including technology, manufacturing, and nonprofits like hospitals and boys and girls clubs. Most recently, she used her knowledge and passion for food and nutrition as a health coach at Noon, a health and wellness app. She is now looking forward to her next steps, hoping to combine her passion for living well and her corporate experience. Currently, Christine is focused on raising her teenagers, with one learning to drive and the other experimenting with new hair colors. She has an interest in building community and her partners with a neighbor to organize Thirst Thursday events, alley parties, and recruiting neighbors to try pickleball. She loves exploring new places and enjoyed living in Hawaii for 3.5 years, where she immersed herself in the local culture. She also enjoys historical and informative podcasts, as well as classic comedies such as Monty Python, and newer ones like Chunk on Earth. Learning to cook is an ongoing interest, and her daughter calls her a superpower as she creates meals for vegan, omnivore, someone with a soy allergy, and one who avoids gluten and dairy. Last but not least, Christine loves a good cup of coffee and has signed up to serve during Sunday hospitality as her first way to contribute to UUCGT. She is excited to meet many of you and hopes you'll stop by and introduce yourself.
John, you're up next.
Yeah.
There's no point in you getting down to come back up again.
Oh, we have plenty of coffee here.
Touch wood, quick.
Okay, so as an introduction to this special time of welcoming new members, we share these words adapted and abbreviated from an unknown author. That's always a common name, isn't it? Unknown author. We, the current members of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Grand Traverse, welcome you into our circle of love and commitment. May you find comfort here, for life often carries with it pain. So may you find joy in the shared gifts of life and love. May you be challenged here, for questioning is a source of love and learning. May you add your voice to ours, finding harmony in the diversity we affirm. May you build on your faith here, a faith that sustains you during life's transitions. May you find your spiritual home here, creating with us a community that welcomes all. Above all, may you help us to create a better world, cultivating human wholeness and authentic interdependence.
And now please turn to the insert in your order of service, as the new members will read the covenant together, followed by the congregational response. And for the new members with me, we enter this faith with hope and possibility in our hearts, pledging to participate in and support the ministries of this congregation. We covenant to remain true to the spirit of love that flows through this church and guides us. We seek your welcome as we join you in faith. And now welcome you as once we were welcomed ourselves. We seek to be open and inclusive, respecting your inherent dignity, your ideas, and your vision. In times when it is easy and in times when it is difficult, we seek to be supportive, not only when you reach out and encourage to us, but also We warmly welcome each of you into this community of caring, of social justice, of learning and wisdom, and so much more. Thank you.
So, Chris and Rick are going to be handing out your packet of information and a little gift from us. And after the service, if you would stop by the welcome table to fill out one more form and sign the book to be officially a member of UUCGT. And welcome.
It is our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to name the joys and concerns that we're holding as we are gathered. I have a few of those to share. If you have a joy or concern that's a bit too tender to share with us in our service, you're always invited to light a candle off at our little station off to my right here. You're also welcome to reach out to a member of our congregational care team or reach out to me privately, or simply hold it on your heart as you are held in the love of this community. None of us is ever meant to travel life's journey alone. And so here is what has been offered up for us to hold as we are gathered. A concern for the state of Wyoming and all of those affected by their recent ban on abortion pills, the first state to do so. From Rich Fowler, healing thoughts and prayers for Mary Kiner, who is recovering from heart surgery at U of M Hospital. From Heather Shoemaker, excited to share that Xander has a summer job at Interlochen. He will be a cabin counselor. And now let us hold a brief silence and pause for all of those joys and concerns that remain on our hearts. May it be so, and amen. Andy will now share with you this morning's reading.
Looking for a source for today's reading, I turned to Krista Tippett, where I found an On Being program revealing Ramadan. Guests for this program responded to the question she posed: what does it mean to be part of the Muslim world? Our reading is from two responses that she received. Wajahat Ali, columnist for the Daily Beast and other publications, is our first voice. He comments, I can understand the viewpoint of many in America who only see the violence and the arrogance espoused by reactionary Muslims, which mars the beauty of Islam in their eyes. And I understand why people have that reaction, with limited understanding of Islam. But it's also a religion which inspires the poetry of Rumi, whose love for the divine created verses that survived 800 years and nourished the spirits of lovers around the globe. And when it comes to Ramadan, some of the most beautiful moments that exist within the Muslim community become manifest during this month of Ramadan. Firuze Faison was born in Turkey. Now living in New York, she met the love of her life, who happens to be a woman. Her marriage caused estrangement between herself and her family, despite continuing to practice the Muslim faith. She finds that fasting during Ramadan clears her mind, allowing her to meditate more deeply. And the reason for this, as explained by Turkish author Ahmed Hulusi, is that when you are not fasting, a lot of your blood and bodily energy is around your intestines and stomach, and your brain loses energy. But once you stop input to the stomach, the body can heal other parts, and the brain can take as much energy as it needs and wants. So thought is much clearer, and your understanding when you read or meditate increases. These voices can add to our understanding of Muslim practices.
Someone's feeling called this morning? How many of you have ever felt hungry? And I'm not talking some easy bit of hunger here, like really, really hungry. Beyond just skipping a meal or even waking up hungry the next morning. Anybody ever felt really, really hungry? What was that experience like to feel so hungry? To feel your stomach and sides ache with pangs of hunger? To feel like you really need food? To feel uncertain maybe about when that next bit of food might come? This is not so uncommon of an experience for many in our world, especially for those who are unhoused or live in constant food insecurity. While some of us may have been fortunate in our lives to never be too concerned or worried about food, myself included, it's clear that this isn't true for all of us. There are many, including families and children, who often go hungry or face the pressures of food scarcity, or even nutritional food deserts. Some of us may have even experienced what this is like, being a child and going to bed hungry, or going to school the following day with nothing to eat. Hunger is something at the core of our human experience. We all need food and sustenance to live and thrive. Physical hunger is a basic need in our hierarchy of survival. Without this and other needs of ours being met, everything else must wait. Our minds become so focused on that one need that may not be a stress or strain for others, and yet we live in an entirely different world from those around us who live without hunger. This core experience of physical hunger, of experiencing long days of fasting from sunrise to sunset, is a large component of how our Muslim friends and neighbors practice Ramadan. In fact, many Muslims will embark on their 30-day fasting journey starting this Wednesday, March 22nd, a journey that officially starts with a glimpse of the moon over Mecca in Saudi Arabia, Islam's holiest city. In this Soul Matters month of vulnerability, we're looking at vulnerability through a different lens this morning. The lens of what the most vulnerable among us experience in their day-to-day lives, that we otherwise might not know or understand. It can be easy to go through life with so many of our needs being met that many of us might not even realize the blessings that we don't fully appreciate or realize. The blessings of shelter, of having a roof over our heads, the blessings of family, of chosen family, those in our lives who love us, who companion us through life, the blessings of access to clean water and fresh food, an abundance that we might take for granted or even as a given. Ramadan is a season that invites us to experience what it's like to live without, to go through our lives with greater reflection and appreciation for the things we have that not everyone has available to them. And while fasting from food and drink during the daylight hours is just one component of this season, it is perhaps the most central practice in how it invites us to fully embody our journey with spirituality. It invites us to experience this vulnerability in a way that might help us to understand the vulnerability that others face each and every day. And so we'll go beyond fasting and hunger with all that Ramadan represents, though hunger is key in understanding this period of reflection and also restraint. Traditionally, Ramadan is the legendary time when God revealed the first verses of the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. Yes, it's a deeply spiritual period, but in ways that you might not fully expect. Unlike Lent, a Christian season that also occurs, at this time for this year, this restraint and deprivation is not for the sake of one's sinful nature. It's not about taking away for the sake of sacrifice or even testing your self-discipline, how much you can resist having that candy bar if you've given up candy for Lent. It's actually about experiencing life from the eyes of another, to feel gratitude for your life and to remember that at any moment, any one of us might only be a little ways from hunger, from scarcity, or from being in need. Summer al-Bayadi, a UU Muslim, explains the meaning of Ramadan in her reflection, Return and Remember, a portion of which I shared for you in the opening words. She writes, Ramadan is a time of going deeper into a spiritual oasis, like entering a cave for a few hours while I fast from bodily nourishment. This sacred time is an abundant act of love. Summer wonders what might happen if she was to go beyond bodily nourishment to focus on the spiritual nourishment. She asks, what if each day I began it by praising the name of the divine each morning and evening? Who would I become? Now, this language of praising the name of the divine might not speak to you. What if you were to think of it instead as noticing joy and abundance as you start each day? To appreciate food and water because you know what it's like to go without. To see gratitude and joy throughout your day with the things that you've too often taken for granted. To feel a return to a spiritual oasis, a delving deeper that reminds you of who you are and of your faith in life and living. This is why Ramadan is so significant. And given that Islam is the second largest religion in our world, you can imagine that there is a great diversity in just how Ramadan is practiced. There are some who can't fast because of their health or age. Instead, a person might offer a donation to those in need or some other form of giving up in order to stay in that relationship with that principle of living without. It's also something that not all healthy Muslims choose to do. It can be a fairly personal decision whether to fast or even to choose to pray throughout the day. That being said, in our reading from Krista Tippett's podcast on being that Andy read for you, we see the experiences of two Muslims and how they've encountered this practice of Ramadan. From Firuze Faison in New York, we hear how Ramadan and fasting during this season allows her to meditate and think more clearly. Born originally in Turkey, Firuze moved to the United States and met a woman who became the love of her life. Their marriage, being two married Muslim women, created divisions between Firuze and her wider family. And yet, in spite of this, her practice of Ramadan and her Muslim faith remains central to how she knows and understands herself. She reflects on the power of Ramadan in teaching her about the limits of her mind and body, how surprised she is each time she begins a fast and turns out to make it without food or water for the whole day. For Firuze, who started fasting when she was a child, it became an affirmation of what she really can do, despite how challenging or difficult it feels. On some days, when it would be 90 degrees out, it would feel strenuous to go without water for even an hour. And yet, during Ramadan, Firuze can somehow make do. As she tells us, at the end of the day, when you take that first sip of water, it is the sweetest thing in the world. In her experience, when she stops eating and drinking, her brain has a lot more energy for her mind and deep thinking. The energy it takes to digest food, to utilize our vital organs, to even wonder or worry about eating and drinking, all of this energy becomes available for the mind and for her spirit. So Ramadan and fasting for Feruze is many things. It's staying in touch with her faith and her family traditions. It's a time of spiritual clarity where she can think deeply. And it's a reminder of how she can do so much more than she thinks she can. How each of us might be surprised with what we can do when we are fasting or living without. Our other voice, Wajahat Ali, a first-generation Pakistani American, shares his own reflections on Ramadan. Given the rise of Islamophobia, the fear of Islam and Muslims, he mentions how he understands why people can't see the beauty of Ramadan and Islam. The first things they think of are the violence and ideology that some extremists practice under the banner of Islam, but is not truly, in fact, Islam. He explains, Islam is a religion that inspired the poetry of Rumi, whose love for the divine created verses that survived 800 years and nourished the spirits of lovers around the globe. Some of the most beautiful moments that exist within the Muslim community become manifest during the month of Ramadan. And how Wajahat views it, Ramadan is not just about drinking or not drinking, eating or not eating. Instead, it's a whole shift of one's mind. In his words, it's an attempt to achieve God consciousness that carries on throughout the day. He recounts a particular time when he traveled to Mecca during Ramadan when he was in college. He recalled how hungry he was, how he prayed for the sun to set so that he could finally have relief from the heat and also break his fast. What he found was a surprising sense of community when a whole host of children called out to him in Arabic to come to the mosque. It turns out that these children had prepared all sorts of bowls of dates, fruits, and milk for those who were breaking their fasts, and that each child begged someone to take from their bowl. As Wajahat describes, it was a sense of overwhelming beauty. When he encounters the extremism or the ignorance and anger toward his faith, this memory nourishes him. It reminds him of the beauty in a tradition that is too often misunderstood or poorly represented in our society and world. So now you've heard from a couple of voices on the significance of Ramadan and fasting as one of the major traditions and sources that we draw from as Unitarian Universalists. What might Ramadan mean for us? If we think about the inherent worth and dignity of each person, Ramadan is a reminder of this. It's a season that invites us to go deeper, not just in our spirituality, but in our experiences of empathy and vulnerability with those who have the least in our world. It's also a rich expression of just how interconnected we really are with one another, even with those who experience life in such different ways than we do. It's a powerful reminder in the promises of justice, equity, and compassion, how we are ultimately wanting to create a world and a future in which no one goes without, in which no child is hungry, in which no person goes without water or shelter. Ramadan for Unitarian Universalists could be an encouragement to really challenge ourselves, to go out of the way to encounter what or whom we view as the other. It can also be an invitation to reflect, to feel a sense of the holy even in the midst of challenging life circumstances. It's a way of embodying our faith, of turning our spirituality into a living practice, even if we don't choose to fast or don't quite have enough to give to others. However you might experience this rich season, I invite you to think about one simple truth. We all live under the same moon. While some of us live in power and others live in great pain, may we endeavor, as always, to understand the experiences of another, to go outside our comfort zones into that sacred site of restlessness and disturbance. See what you might learn from this change, even if it doesn't really feel possible yet. We can all do more than we think we can to more fully care for and love one another. And so with that, I say Ramadan Mubarak. Remember that this is the same moon that we see in our sky that also shines over Mecca. And may all that we share with one another be greater than all that holds us apart. May it be so, and amen. We go now to our closing hymn, number 1032, Dayuna Naish.
To extinguish our chalice this morning, we turn once again to Rumi. A candle never loses any of its light while lighting up another candle. Go into your world and light the candle of others.
And so in the spirit of covenant, community, and commitment, in the spirit of Ramadan and truly serving our neighbors, may we be made ready to serve one another and to create the world that we so desperately dream of. Go in peace all. May it be so, and amen. I have only a couple of announcements before we send you on your way. Next week is a special service that is led by the Vision, Mission, and Covenant Task Force. They are working steadily away at this, and so we invite you to come for that special service where they will invite you to do a visioning exercise, so you won't want to miss that. We also have a new members reception today after the service with some lovely treats, so please stick around for that. And a note about the Meals on Wheels fundraiser that's happening over at Moomers. They've rescheduled it for today. You may even recognize some UUers there that are volunteering. So I think they're open until 9 p.m. if you want to go over and support Meals on Wheels and also get a little bit of ice cream. Anyway, a good cause and some sweet treats. Anyway, thanks for being with us this morning. Go in peace and grow in love.